What's going on, everybody? Gang is coming to you here from stormy Colorado. Coming to you from Denver with some bad news. It seems there has been a terrorist attack Boulder Pearl Street Mall. Not good. There was a march today. A march, they're not calling it a protest. It was a march today. Some Jewish students were having a walk, like a walkathon type thing or whatever, to I believe trying to secure the release of Jewish prisoners in Palestine. Some sort of terrorist attack. They haven't been completely straight about exactly what happened. Actions, what up? Stacy, good to see you. We're going to get into this, though. Let's check this out. This is from USA Today. FBI is investigating the report of a targeted terror attack at a Colorado mall. Suspect arrested. The suspect seemed to be arrested on the scene. So we should know what his motive was pretty quick here. Boulder is one of the nicest damn places in Colorado. I don't know why you go to Boulder. That's where there's been a couple terror attacks up there. You know, the one dude went up there and just started dumping at the King Supers, at the Kroger. So from USA Today, FBI agents and law enforcement are investigating a quote-unquote targeted terror attack after an incident near a pedestrian mall in Boulder, Colorado on June 1st, authorities said. And it is a pedestrian mall. It's a walking mall. I don't know, maybe they missed this storm. There's a thunderstorm going on outside right now. It's coming down pretty bad. Longmont is not nice. Longmont is only one. So Longmont is like a supplementary city. I would say that because Longmont supplements Boulder. So imagine all of the people in Boulder. This is much like Glenwood Springs. Right? Glenwood Springs is a supplementary city for like Aspen, right? I believe Aspen or Vail. And the reason I say that's just something I come up with, supplementary city, and this is the reason why. If you go to Boulder, you have it's a certain class of people. It's very rich, very, very rich. It's a very rich city. Per capita, probably one of the richest in the country. Very nice, beautiful, beautiful city. But the people who work there, work in the service industry, work the lower end paying jobs, they have to live somewhere. And they can't really afford to live in that city, right? And so the people who work in Boulder but can't really afford to live there, but they want to live within a reasonable commute, that's where they go to Longmont. Longmont is the only city up in that area that has its own gangs, right? Some of my friends are from a hood. It's actually called East Side Longmont, ESL. And it's an old gang. It's been around for a long time. It's a Mexican gang, been around for a long time. And so, Longmont's not nice at all. It's kind of a dumpster. As far as generally, as far as the country concerned, it's probably pretty nice. But for the area, for the part of the country that it resides in, the part of the state that it resides in, it's kind of a trash can. So, yeah, Stacy, not cool. So let's see. We are aware of, this is from USA Today. We are aware of and fully investigating a targeted terror attack in Boulder, Colorado. FBI Director Kash Patel said on Twitter, X, our agents and local law enforcement are on the scene already, and we will share updates as more information becomes available. Boulder Dispatch received several calls to the county courthouse on Pearl Street at around 1:26 p.m. local time. Boulder Police Chief Stephen Redfern said in an afternoon news conference on June 1st. Initial reports indicated that there was a man with a weapon and people were being set on fire at the scene. Set on fire? With what? Like a flamethrower? I don't know. Okay, officers immediately responded to the scene and encountered multiple victims with wounds consistent with burns and other injuries. So apparently, yeah, he was lighting people on fire. According to Redfern, the victims, who sustained a range of injuries from very serious to more minor, were taken to a local hospital, Redfern added. A suspect who police are not identifying at this time was taken into custody and transported to a hospital with minor injuries, Redfern said. Now, the reason they don't call him anymore, they don't identify him anymore is because as soon as you identify him, people will go right to their social medias, start pulling up their social medias, and before you know it, people will know more about the damn people, the suspect than the cops do, right? Okay. From USA Today continued. Though the scene has been contained, Redfern, I'm guessing that's Redfern, said a large area of downtown Boulder is closed off. People have been asked to avoid the area. The area is not yet safe. We're dealing with a vehicle of interest, Redfern said at the news conference. We're dealing with a large area that we are making sure it's safe before we allow people to come back into the scene. Redfern called the incident unacceptable, noting that it was too early for police to speculate on a motive. Well, it's probably got something to do with Jews, I'm guessing, because it seems that early reports are the people that were attacked were people that were marching to secure the release of Israeli hostages, right? At 2:08 p.m. local time, the Boulder Police Department said in a post on X that they responded to a report of several victims in the area of 13th and Pearl Streets in Boulder, about 30 miles northwest of Denver. The Colorado Division of Homeland Security and Emergency Management said it was supporting the county and was prepared to provide resources as requested. About an hour later, the police department said it was evacuating several blocks around the area between Walnut and Pine Streets as they continue to investigate this active incident. Police advised the public to avoid the area. Colorado Governor Jared Polis said, hate-filled acts of any kind are unacceptable. How far away from okay, so I'm right, I'm in the city, in the western part of the city, right on the western edge of Denver. And Boulder is northwest of Denver. So like I said, 30 minutes. I'm probably 20 minutes if you're moving on the highway. If there's no traffic, I'm probably about 20 minutes from Boulder. If you're really moving, if you're in traffic, probably 30, 35. See, I am closely monitoring the situation in Boulder, and my thoughts go out to the people who have been injured and impacted by this heinous act of terror, Polis said in a post. Hate-filled acts of any kind are unacceptable. The Anti-Defamation League said it was monitoring the situation as we approach the holiday of Shabbat, a Jewish holiday. We are aware of reports of an attack at today's Boulder Run for Their Lives event, this was an event put on in support of Israeli hostages in Palestine. A weekly meeting of Jewish community members to run, walk in support of the hostages kidnapped on 10/7. The organization said on X, according to Jewish Colorado, a Denver-based nonprofit that is part of the Jewish Federations of North America, the Run for Their Lives walk is a repeating event in downtown Boulder. So this is something they do all the time. We have been walking in Boulder, Colorado since Thanksgiving of 2023 to show solidarity for the plight of the hostages still being held in Gaza. According to the organization's website, we will continue to walk until all the hostages are released. So if you remember, on October 7th, 2023, the Palestinians staged an attack into Israel, blew through a bunch of defensives, took a bunch of people out, unalived a bunch of people, and kidnapped a bunch of people, and they've been holding these ever since. Timo DeVille, what up? What I'm worried about is all the MAGA terrorists marching around acting like fascist Nazis. Where? And the Nazis weren't fascists, they were socialists. So that's somewhat of a contradiction in terms. But good to see you, my friend. We have been walking in Boulder, Colorado since Thanksgiving 2023. Let's see. Let's go to the next. Let's see what we got here. This is from Reuters. FBI investigating targeted terror attack in Boulder, Colorado, the director says. This is by Jasper Ward and Raphael Satter. June 1st, Reuters. Police said a male suspect was taken into custody on Sunday after an attack that injured multiple people in Boulder, Colorado, in what the FBI director described as a targeted act of terror. While stressing that the information was very preliminary, Boulder Police Chief Stephen Redfern said that the man was apprehended following calls to the police dispatch of someone with a weapon who was setting people on fire. The Reuters Tariff Watch newsletter, Redfern said he wasn't in a position to identify the suspect yet, noting that he'd been taken to the hospital. He said there were multiple injuries among the victims, ranging from very serious to more minor. The Boulder attack occurred in the vicinity of a walk to remember the Israeli hostages who remain in Gaza. FBI Director Kash Patel, in a statement, described the incident as a targeted terror attack and said agents were on the scene. Redfern, however, said it was too early to speculate about a motive. We are not calling it a terrorist attack at this. We're not calling it a terror attack at this moment. Well, the news is this was a beautiful Sunday afternoon in downtown Boulder on Pearl Street, and this act was unacceptable. I ask if you join me in thinking about the victims, the family of those victims, and everyone involved in the tragedy. I haven't heard of anything as far as anybody losing their life, just people set on fire. Let's see, January 6th, Kansas City last weekend is the fascist Nazis in Tennessee and Kansas City last weekend. January 6th, you still worried about January 6th? Gilroy, California. Where the hell is Gilroy, California? I remember that name. I can't remember that. El Paso, Texas. El Paso, Texas is a pretty brown city, dog. It's about as brown as you can get. You see a lot of Nazis down there. I spent a little bit of time in El Paso. You make a great history teacher, professor. Gang is very well spoken. Very well versed on your history. Thank you, brother. I appreciate it. I'll take that. I'll take that compliment. Let's see. The incident comes amid heightened tensions in the United States. This is from Reuters. Over Israel's war in Gaza, which has spurred both an increase in anti-Semitic hate crime, as well as moves by conservative reporters of Israel led by President Donald Trump to branded pro-Palestinian protests as anti-Semitic. His administration has detained protesters without charge and cut off funding to the elite U.S. universities that have permitted the demonstrations. It also follows the arrest of a Chicago-born man in the fatal shooting of two Israeli embassy employees in Washington, D.C. Someone opened fire on a group of people leaving an event hosted by the American Jewish Committee, an advocacy group that fights anti-Semitism and supports Israel. The shooting fueled polarization in the United States over the war in Gaza between supporters of Israel and pro-Palestinian demonstrations. Why are the Jews protesting Muslims in Boulder, Colorado? Well, that's kind of what I was saying too. I'm not, Veritas, I'm not quite 100% sure why Boulder would be, and another thing is that like Boulder is, it's one of the most progressive cities you'll find. Super friendly city, very friendly city, a safe city, and it's also absolutely flanked with cameras, like everywhere. Like every stoplight has cameras. If you have warrants and like you're driving through the city and your car's registered to you, it'll alert the cops and tell them, hey, go get this food. They'll show up wherever you are. You'll be in the store or something and come out and they snatch you up, right? It's and it's very heavy with police. Boulder is very heavy with police. They tend not to mess with you too much because the majority of the population has money and they're not people to be messed with. They're not criminals. And it's not a very crime-heavy city. So the police don't mess with people all that much. But the police are there. Like they have the money and they have there. Let's see. A Trumper traveled 6 hours to a Walmart in Elon, Texas. I think you mean El Paso. Elon Paso. To kill brown people and wrote a manifesto sounding just like Donald Trump. on the hate he's preaching. Where are you getting? What are you listening to, Timo? Dominic, what up? What have you been listening to, brother? Yeah, I mean, people do horrible things all over the country, brother. And they have perversion of ideologies everywhere you go. Everywhere you go, there's going to be somebody who's mentally ill, and I don't think that Trump would back up shooting Mexicans in an El Paso Walmart. I don't think he would endorse that. I don't think anybody would endorse that. And I've never heard Trump call for the. Yes, sir. Thank you, my friend. Dinner's ready. I've never heard Trump call for the shooting of anybody. And I don't know what the word for word on the hate he's preaching. What hate is Donald Trump preaching? Asking illegal immigrants to leave the country? I guess you could say that. I mean, some people consider that to be hatred. But this is one of the only countries in the world where you won't be thrown in jail, right? Like if I go sneak into a country, pick a country, just spin the globe and pick it. If I sneak into a country and I get caught there without a visa or without a passport, you go to jail. Pretty much everywhere on the planet. This is one of the only countries that doesn't do that, right? It's the us and the Nordic countries, the Scandinavian countries, basically the European countries, the Western European countries, the Western style countries are the only ones that won't throw people in jail simply because they find them in their country without a passport, right? So I would argue that the Western democracies are actually the most sympathetic, right? They take in a lot of refugees, right? I'm actually doing a documentary right now on immigration. And we're seeing with the Bosnian War, Germany, wanting to do the right thing, took in X amount of refugees. And then with the European migrant crisis in the 2010s, they took in a bunch of Africans and Syrians and stuff. Well, they were supposed to take in a bunch of Syrians, but what they ended up taking in was basically anybody who came up out of Africa who was willing to make the trek. And Angela Merkel just brought them in, right? And now they're taking in a bunch of Ukrainians, and they're doing it because they believe it's the right thing to do. The Germans have a collective conscience, and they believe that it's the right thing to do. But it's causing a change in the social demographic of Germany. You know what I mean? Germany's not going to look the same in 20 years because of it. It's not going to be the same country. And so, we have to think about that whenever you let so many people in X amount of time. You change the social fabric, you change the social nature of a country, and complex systems have a real hard time dealing with rapid change. United States, if you think about the United States, it's not abnormal at all for people to say that their parents are from another country or something like that. That's completely normal to us, but most of the country's not like that. Or most of the world, most of the world's not like that. Let's see what you're talking about, Timo. In California, Trumper went to the Garlic Festival here and also wrote a manifesto sounding just like Trump word for word and went to kill brown folks, and he did. Well, I would argue that dude was probably going to kill brown folks whether or not Trump made any statements at all. You know what I mean? If you're that messed up in your head to do stuff like that, you're probably going to do that anyway. Look up the El Paso mass killings and look up the Gilroy Garlic Festival. Blame that orange con man for the hate and violence that are the highest levels ever. The highest levels ever? I don't know about that. The United States' crime in general has been on a general downtrend for a long time. The most dangerous spot on the planet that wasn't a war zone was, well, if you've ever seen the movie Gangs of New York, New York City, the turn of the century, late 1800s, early 1900s, was one of the most dangerous places on the planet. It wasn't abnormal to find people dead just in the streets because the police weren't really strong enough to do anything about it back then. The police back then at that time were a lot more focused on protecting politicians and things of this nature. They just didn't have the ability really to police New York City in a proper manner. And New York City was a huge city. It was a burgeoning city. And ever since then, crime has been consistently going down, including violent crime, throughout the United States, especially since the 70s, since the advent of video cameras and security cameras and things of this nature. And since security cameras have become ubiquitous throughout the United States, and now there's cameras everywhere, if you think about, that's a big part of the reason why you don't see, like anywhere in Denver, you really won't see gangs like patrolling the streets anymore. You won't see gangs, like the gangs are still here, but they're in the houses now. Because if you try to go out and post up on the block and patrol a neighborhood, you go to jail. The cops are going to be on your ass and you're going to go to jail. So the gangs still exist out here, but not so much out in the open on the block, right? Let's see. It's racist to not be replaced in your own country. I still got blinders on. What blinders, brother? I don't think so. I mean, I'm pretty straightforward. I'm pretty liberal. I actually am pretty liberal. I believe in most progressive causes, and racism is a problem in many ways. But you can't let the entire world flood your country until the country that they, if we let everybody in, right, then the country just looks like the places that they left, right? Until we're all down to the lowest common denominator, right? And many of the countries in the world are not governed very well, right? Many of the countries in the world are not great places, So we have to believe that there's something wrong with the ideology in these countries. Unless we believe that they're just going to come here and all of a sudden they're just going to become social democrats and they just, they love the world, and then they'll forget all the horrible ideas that they bring with them, right? I'm looking at, you, Muslims. Oh, horrible. They have horrible ideas in these countries, right? But yet you'll see many left-wing folks championing the ideas of bringing these Muslims into this country. Now we have a huge problem with female genital mutilation in this country, right? Because they imported this as well. Whenever they imported this, and there's a direct correlation between that and Islam. If you look at the Islamic centers of the United States, you're talking like Dearborn, Michigan. Lo and behold, female genital mutilation capital of the United States, right? So we have to be careful about what we let into our country, and Biden wasn't at all, right? Doesn't matter who you are. There's nobody that would argue that this dude was, doing the right thing by just opening up the floodgates and encouraging people to come here, and then just looking the other way. Basically took a nap. So let's see. Let's get back over to this terrorist attack. We go from 10 News, working for you. See, what is that? That's NBC. NBC 10 News. FBI and law enforcement respond to terror attack in Boulder, Colorado. Several people were injured, and some may have been set on fire at an outdoor mall in Boulder, Colorado, police said. Police said a man was taken into custody in the attack that the FBI immediately described as an act of terror. Boulder Police Chief Steve Redfern told reporters Sunday evening that it was too early to discuss a motive, but that witnesses were being interviewed. It would be irresponsible for me to speculate on motive this early on, he said. The attack took place at a pedestrian mall where demonstrators had gathered to call for the release of hostages who remain in Gaza. Boulder, Associated Press. Law enforcement and FBI agents were responding on Sunday to what the FBI described as a targeted terror attack in Boulder, Colorado. Our agents and local law enforcement are on the scene already, and we will share updates as more information becomes available. FBI Director Kash Patel posted on social media. Boulder police said they were evacuating several blocks of the typically popular pedestrian mall area, saying that there were several victims in the attack without providing further details. Colorado Governor Jared Polis said in a statement that he was closely monitoring the situation, adding that hate-filled acts of any kind are unacceptable. And that's about all we got, right? Plus, my dinner's ready, so I'm going to have to go grab dinner. Let's see. I'm being brown here now. What, I'm American Mexican? What do you mean? I think you're American, brother. Go be brown somewhere else. They ain't going. Now, I will give you that, Timo. They seem to have, in the dragnet of snatching up the folks that they wanted out of the country, right? Criminals and whatnot. They seem to have grabbed some people that they shouldn't have. I will give you that. I will agree with you on that. It seems that they've gone a little too far and cast a little bit too broad of a net. I will agree with you on that. Timmy. It was Timmy. Wesley, what up? But anyway, I got to let this go because I got to go to some dinner. I'm probably going to be back tonight. I'll be talking about this more tonight as more news comes out. I'm in Mexico right now. Where? The north side? Anyway, my friends, I'll catch you guys later. I'll be live in a little while here. Be doing some YouTube stuff tonight. I've been doing some video editing on I'm working on a documentary on immigration right now. I want to give every every side of the story. I want to give a balanced idea of every side of the story. So I'll be back later, my friends. Later.